Hey, this is Regina White Favors with a new series. The series is titled What Do You Bring to the Table? And it is part of the Overcoming Rebound Relationships curriculum and then also the Toxic Encounters books. And you can find those tabs marked as rebounding and also toxic encounter books on my website, reginawhitefavors.com. So, this particular series I thought is very interesting because there's this sort of ongoing social media discussion concerning men asking women what do they bring to the table, and it segues into conversations about submission and how most men want a submissive wife or partner. They're not always inclined to transition the individual into becoming a wife, but they want the individual or the woman to be submissive. And so it has transitioned into those types of discussions of submission and also tradition, that they want a traditional wife. And many people define tradition or a traditional wife as someone who cooks and cleans and stays at the house. They tend to be a housekeeper, homekeeper, a housewife. But I noticed that there's an irony to the discussion about what do they bring to the table, because most men who ask that question tend to label themselves or categorize themselves as alpha men, and they still, when a woman responds with the fact that she makes a certain income or she works a certain job or she has education, the men will say, well, that's not important to alpha men, right? Or that's not important to men just in general. And the irony that I find very interesting is that these men want a traditional submissive wife, but they also want her to work. They don't want the 50s, 40s, 50s type of wives who stayed home where the man went out and he was the breadwinner. What they want is still the woman to work and still the woman to be able to tend to the home, tend to the husband in a very traditional way, not have any true independence or anything like that. But when a woman says, well, she makes a certain amount of money or she has education, they sort of mock and scorn and look down on that. So I've been thinking about this series for a good while and just kind of listening to discussions and being sort of turned off by those discussions, as well as wondering, I mean, do people really know what they want? The most important thing that people need to understand is that you are always 100% responsible for yourself. So that means you need to do all that you need to do to ensure that you establish you. Just because someone decides to get an education or make a lot of money doesn't mean that they think that person is better than you. That's what you're supposed to do as an adult. You're supposed to leave your parents' home, get a job, go to school, get your own apartment, get a house, get a car, pay bills. That's what you're supposed to do. And so this discussion about what do you bring to the table is something that I want to explore. I don't know if I'm going to turn it into a script or something, but I have created a workbook companion that I'm going to introduce you to in a few slides. So this is what do you bring to the table, and this is preparing your table for engagement. And your table for engagement depends on where you are in your development. If you are preparing your table for engagement, if you are in your 30s or your 40s, well, it is, you've likely already received your education or completed your education, and so now you are already establishing yourself. So now you are at a 30s mindset, or if you're in your 40s, you're at a 40s mindset. So how you perceive the world and how you engage with another person is going to be a lot different than the person who is in their 20s, right? So preparing your table means whatever it means in terms of the particular topics we're going to discuss, but also just your table in terms of your mindset. your mentality about relationships, about relationship building. If you're the type of person who quits relationships after a certain time and you don't have a record of staying in a relationship longer than 6 months, that is your table. And so you're going to have to really address that part of your um, emotional development. So this is, what do you bring to the table? Preparing your table for engagement. So the curriculum is based upon the research I did for rebounding and rebound relationships. And that research you can find under the rebounding tab. And the rebound relationship research focuses on understanding the table. So this is the table that we're at as two partners. One of the partners is a rebound, and the other partner is a member of a core relationship. And so when you are engaging in relationships, especially romantically, and you don't know that the partner is already engaged with someone else, and that can be as in marriage, or it can be just in a long-term relationship, it's time to really think about what's going on with the table that you're sitting at. So that's understanding the table. And then the Toxic Encounters books um, do derive from that research. And so I go over that at the end of the presentation here. But it's Overcoming Rebound Relationships curriculum, and it is when you need to leave the table. So the three books, three titles under the series, the Bait, Hook, and Switch series, focus on rebound relationships, why people pursue them, focuses on also adult attachment, and then encourages the reader to go no contact. So this is the curriculum in addition to the workbook companion. So here's the workbook companion. What do you bring to the table? This is the series, and then this is taking many of the ideas that I have in this presentation and putting it into book form. So it's about 130 pages, and it is available on Amazon. What is your life assignment table? So this is something that is not always a thing that people understand, but your life assignment, your assignment is usually to a person, people, or thing, and it's usually a problem that you're going to solve during your time on the earth. When you think about Queen Elizabeth, and I've been using her lately, even in my classroom. When you think about Queen Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth really wasn't supposed to become queen. Her uncle decided to abdicate the throne, which forced her to take on the role as queen. And so then once she accepted the mantle, once she accepted the task of being queen, she died off the job. She literally died off the job. Her assignment was to become queen, stabilize the country, bring everybody united up under the flag, up under the country's ideals, right, and purpose. And she stayed on the throne for like 70 years, I think, and she died. You're either Whatever your life assignment is either you're going to do that for a season and pass the baton, like you see the runners on the relay races passing the baton. Either you're going to do that, or you're going to die off the job, like Queen Elizabeth. And she stayed on the job. She never wavered. She stayed on it. She never quit. She never said, I didn't want to do this anymore. There were scandals. There were all different types of stuff, but she stayed the course. So your life assignment is something usually connected to people you're going to serve, or a place, a geography, whatever it is. I always remember this, and I learned this from a preacher, minister, Dr. Mike Murdoch of the Wisdom Center in Fort Worth, Texas. And he basically said, and I'm just kind of summarizing it in the way that I understand it. Where you are matters just as much as what you are. Where you are in terms of geography matters as much as what you are in terms of your gifts and talents. that you can have the right gift and talent, but be in the wrong place and nothing works. That you, okay, I feel like I can go on ahead and move from Dallas to Atlanta. Okay, everything is working well and functioning well where I am in Dallas. And just to be honest, I don't like Atlanta, so I would never move to Atlanta. But if I moved to Atlanta, I wouldn't have the success, or I wouldn't have the effectiveness, the productivity, what I need to accomplish in Atlanta, because what I'm supposed to accomplish is where I am right now. The healing that I'm going through is where I am right now. The books that I write is where I am right now. The teaching that I do as a college instructor, that's where I am right now. The place that I live in, that's where I am right now. I'm more effective here than I would be in another place. Um, just before I moved here, I was living in an extended stay motel, and I had stayed there from 2013 to about 2022, I think. And I was effective there. The goal was, I was just coming out of homelessness from the financial recession. I had lost everything, and I had become homeless. And so when I set the financial, I was able to get back on my teaching job in 2013. So I set a financial stable goal, that my goal is to become financially stable. So I stayed on the job, I taught, I did whatever I needed to do. I paid bills, I kept a place, albeit extended stay. And then that opened the door for me in 2022 to get an apartment again. And so now the goal, the financial goal, is to become financially financially well. I say financially well. Financial stability, financial wellness, and then financial freedom much later in life. And so financially well means that you must be ill somewhere. Now I'm not ill like I was before, but I feel like I'm still not where I need to be. And where I need to be is to where I am, what I'm doing right now, creating emergency savings plans and things like that. And that's where I was ill, meaning that part of the reason why I had to endure that life setback was because of an instruction that I ignored in my 20s, when my mother was trying to get me to understand something that, well, no, not 20s, but in high school, when she was trying to get me to understand that if I don't save any money, all I'm going to do is have a closet full of clothes and no money saved. And I ignored that instruction, let time pass by, went to college, did well in college, and then a life setback happened with the financial recession. And those words that she said were the very same words that ring in my head and in my heart. So the very thing that I ignored, I ended up having to be set back, go through correction, and now I'm living out those words, meaning that I'm living them out in the positive sense, that I have a savings plan. I actually have money in the bank. If something happened to me, I can pay for myself. I can do a lot more now at 48 that I didn't do when I was in high school, 16, 17, 18 years old, right? So I say that to say that something that you didn't do in one area could affect what you need to do with your life assignment, that you could be in setback. As much as you can still accomplish your life assignment, some decisions that you have made in other areas could have an impact on what you're trying to do now. Case in point, when I got out of a situation that was um, um, kind of domestic violence, back when I was like 20, 21 or something. Instead of taking the time to heal, I got into another relationship. Now it was somewhere like 2021. Okay. And I remember feeling like I needed to not be in anything, but I got distracted. I met somebody at the mall, got distracted, and then I found myself in a relationship. And then that relationship turned kind of sour, almost deadly. Um, and then time just kind of passed by. I was out of that relationship, and time just passed by. Doesn't mean, even though time is passing by, doesn't necessarily mean that you're learning. It's just time is passing by. Now at 48, that was at 2021. At 48, the very thing that I didn't do and endure or even initiate the healing process, I'm now forced to do. Now, I'm still preparing in my life assignment, which is the teaching and the writing. But I'm still kind of set back, not financially anymore, but set back from fully going after the assignment because of the healing that I need to do. It's I have to do it. There's no there's no option. Uh it has to happen because if I don't do the healing now, by the time I get down the road, it's going to have a negative impact on anything that I'm trying to do, anybody I'm trying to reach, and whatever I'm trying to accomplish. So your life assignment table, when you think about the decisions that you made, can have an impact on what it is you're trying to do. That's why some people, when things are not working out in one area, they will jump off one path and go on to another path because they're seeking a win. They're seeking success. But then they stay on that path so long because they are getting success and doing very well, but they're miserable. They're miserable. And then you find them very rich with all the trappings of wealth, but they're also the types of people who are jumping out of a window of a skyscraper. These are the same people who thought that they would be happy with money or thought that they would be happy with success, but they were on a different path. And I always say this: if you see someone dying a tragedy of any kind, that means that they are out of order somewhere, that they were not supposed to be in that place. And so, your life assignment, it does matter who you connect yourself with, because if the person that you connect yourself with is very hasty and wants to pursue success and want to get a win, they're going to take you too fast. It'll look like support. It'll look like the person is really behind you and going to be great for you and things like that. But in actuality, they're taking you too fast, and their support is actually hindering you. It's not supporting you. And that's why you need to spend time with your preparation and life assignment, and taking time and spending time in prayer, and just spending time with yourself before you take on the task of a relationship, meaning that you need to discover your gifts and talents. A lot of times, putting those, activating those gifts and talents within a college environment will allow you to develop and learn and get feedback. And then off to yourself in isolation, work on some projects, work on your book, work on your website, anything that you need to do that's in preparation for the life assignment. And then the more time that you spend with that, the more you understand. And the more you understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what kind of problem that you're trying to solve. So then when you're looking for a partner, or a partner is looking for you, you should agree. You both, the life assignment should bring you together as complementary souls, so to speak, or complementary gifts and talents, that there's something on the inside of that person you need, and there's something on the inside of you that that person needs. And when you come together, you come together in agreement. You come together with singleness of mind, and now you can pursue purpose, pursue the life assignment, and do the will of God, right? Do the work of God, do God's work. And so, what is your life assignment as you prepare your table for engagement really does matter or is really predicated on the vision that you have for your life, that you understand that another person has, and that you both are coming together to serve a larger vision. Again, Queen Elizabeth died off the job. Either you're going to solve the problem to the point that it's time to pass the baton, or you're going to solve the problem to the point that you die off the job. And she didn't die of tragedy or anything like that. She just died a natural death off the job. And so, is the person sitting in front of you, or the person you are considering or thinking about, do they have that potential to go the distance? Think about the relay race. You have what, 4 or 5 runners. Each person is waiting in their spot, and each person has to pass the baton to the next person. That person keeps running, then the next person, and they finish the relay. You have to gauge whether all those people who are participating in the race, you have to gauge their capacity, their willingness to follow the rules, their capacity and strength to endure the race, their capacity to wait their turn, to wait their turn. They don't run ahead of someone else who's already ahead on the track. They have their own individual turns, right? And so that's what your life assignment is: understanding your season, understanding your turn, and making sure that the person that you decide to marry has the same understanding, has the same vision, etc. So, what is your life assignment? So these are the Toxic Encounter books that I mentioned earlier. This is Toxic Encounters: Why People Pursue Rebound Relationships, Part 1. Then Toxic Encounters: Adult Attachment and the Problem with Rebounding, Part 2. And then Toxic Encounters: Why You Should Go No Contact Post Rebounding, Part 3. So this is part of the Overcoming Rebound Relationship curriculum. And these were the 3 initial books in terms of research, where I go over um, rebound relationships, how it relates to adult attachment, and that's why we tend to stay in those types of relationships, because we become attached. Is usually an insecure attachment, and you can chart the insecure attachment from your childhood to your adulthood. Then, of course, going no contact. Visit, subscribe, and follow. So this is the standard logo for the Regina White Favors website. And so you can also visit me on Facebook, Arthur Regina White Favors, YouTube, Regina White Favors channel, and then our Amazon Arthur page, amazon.com /Arthur Regina White Favors. Thank you very much for listening.